Hey guys, how we doing today? So, I'm coming to you today with an amazing chicken pot pie recipe. Guys, this is the ultimate comfort food. Right now outside in my zone 8A Georgia, it is rainy, it's cold, it's dreary. I ran some errands this morning, had to run out and get a second tarp because I had a second load of wood delivered yesterday, and not paying attention that it was going to rain today. I decided this morning to go get a second tarp. Well, it already started raining, but nonetheless, I went and got that tarp and covered that wood. But I have my fireplace going, and I began to get some ingredients together to make a chicken pot pie. And I said, well, why don't I bring my family along with me? So come on in, join me, and today we are going to make that ultimate comfort food of chicken pot pie. So what I'm going to do is show you some of the ingredients that I have. And remember, guys, garden to table. Use whatever vegetables that you have in your garden. You can swap out with some of the vegetables that I have. So what we have here is a pound of boneless chicken thighs. So you can use chicken breast, but I choose to use chicken thighs because it has a bit more flavor. I have 2 cups of self-rising flour. 3/4 cups of milk. I'm going to use these two to make our topping. So instead of making a crust today, we're going to make like a biscuit topping. These are the seasonings that I'm using for the chicken. And what I have in here is onions, garlic, pepper, and sage. The sage and the onions, they come from me. I dehydrate it. I always caramelize my onions first, then I dehydrate them because I love that that deep sweet flavor of the onion. And then, as you can see, I have it in the lid to my spice grinder, so I ground it up in my spice grinder. I have 2 cups of chicken stock. I have some olive oil there, about a tablespoon. And here's my array of vegetables. So the only thing here that I did not grow in my garden is the sweet corn. But the sweet peas, the potatoes, as well as the zucchini, all were grown in my garden and individually quick frozen. So what I did was I brought the vegetables in from the garden. I chopped them up. I made sure everything was clean, chopped them up. And then for the potatoes, I actually steamed them in my quick cooker. And then I laid everything out and let it dry, let it freeze individually. And then I put it in a bag. And so we're going to be cooking this in our 12-inch, I believe this is a 12-inch or 10-inch cast iron skillet. I already have it preheated. And then I have some melted butter back here that we're going to use for our biscuit topping. And I have our oven preheated at 400 degrees just to kind of on things. So guys, let's go. The first thing that we're going to do, again, I have our cast iron skillet preheated here. I'm going to pour in our olive oil. I'm going to put our chicken in a bowl. And that way we can get it seasoned up. And again, guys, this is a great way to add your vegetables into a meal. This is an amazing way to add vegetables into a meal. I always watch Laquita and her husband Corey on Blind Guy, His Wife, Their Life. And they are always asking everyone, you know, how are you getting extra vegetables in today? And so this is a great way to be able to get your extra vegetables in. So our pan is nice and hot. Guys, I love cooking with cast iron. So this is going to be somewhat of a one-pot meal because we are going to cook all the components in this cast iron, and then we're actually going to make the pot pie in the cast iron skillet. Let me get over here and wash my hands up. Alrighty. So guys, when you're making dishes like this, you can either make it family size or individual. So I have these small cast iron skillets. And you can actually make your pot pies in these, or I've also made them in these containers because these containers can go into the oven. So you can place them in these containers and you can actually freeze them. So if you're going to use a crust, what I would suggest that you do is you take your mixture. So we have our chicken cooking right now. Once we begin to add in our vegetables and our stock and we get everything going, when you get to that point, you let that mixture cool. You fill your containers, your small individual size containers or your large containers, your large container, and you let everything cool completely, and then you place it in your freezer, and now you have a freezer meal. If you are making it, when I worked midnight to 8 o'clock, what I would do is I would get my mixture ready. I would put my crust on top, so I would make about 6 of these, put my crust on top, and then I would put it in the oven and just cook it lightly until my crust was a light golden brown, not cooked completely, but a light golden brown. And that way, whenever I got in at 8 o'clock in the morning, I could get me a quick breakfast, shower, get some sleep, and then when I wanted some lunch, I could pop it into the oven. I'm not really big on pot pie in the microwave, but a lot of people do it. But I just pop it in the oven while I'm in the shower, and by the time I'm finished with all my hygiene stuff, it's ready and I'm ready to eat. And so things like that worked out for me because, again, working midnight to 8 o'clock, that shift is not for everybody. And then it ended up getting changed from 10 o'clock all the way through to 8 o'clock. So, you know, I always had to have meals on hand so that my family still get fed and so that I was able to get an optimal amount of sleep. So guys, working that shift and running a business was pretty rough, but I did it. I just had to know that at a certain point, I had to get some rest. And I had to get up at a certain time, get some things done, and then get some more rest. I couldn't just sleep the entire day away. So I'm going to bring you in so that you can see what our chicken is looking like right now. So that's what we're working with right now. And we're going to keep going with that, getting it cooked. And guys, I know that so many people are growing so many different things in their fall gardens. So whatever you have in your fall garden, you can substitute these vegetables for. You can actually make a chicken pot pie soup. So if you don't want to use crust or a biscuit topping, instead of thickening up the broth, which is what I'm going to do, you can leave the broth really smooth and loose and add a few thinly sliced pak choy, thinly slice your cabbage, add that into this recipe, and it'll make an amazing pot pie soup. So this recipe is very versatile. And that's why I enjoy making it. So whenever I believe it's the Wide Family Farm. They're doing hashtag comfort food or home cooked meals. I think it's comfort food. It's hashtag comfort food meals. And so this is going to be my comfort food meal for that challenge. But guys, this is an amazing meal any time of the fall and winter, because again, it helps you to use up a lot of those vegetables that you have. And a lot of you guys are pressure canners. So if you are pressure canners, this is a great recipe to pressure can. Just remember to leave the flour out. Any thickening agents, make sure you leave those out. And you just pour this straight out of your can, thicken it up, and add your crust or your biscuit topping. So guys, from watching my other videos, you know that I'm a firm believer in using what you have. So again, if you don't have the vegetables that I had in my garden, use the vegetables that you have in your garden, the vegetables that you enjoy the most. So what I'm doing this fall, I'm growing some different varieties of vegetables. I'm growing kohlrabi, I'm growing tomatillos, things like that. And what I am looking at doing is changing up my chow chow recipe and making a spring chow chow and making a fall chow chow. So using the base items, your cabbage, and usually it's cabbage and green tomatoes, but this time around I'm going to use the tomatillos if I'm able to get some from my arrow garden. But I'm looking at doing that and adding in, if I get when I get the kohlrabi to grow, putting that in my chow chow as well. And guys, if you don't know what chow chow is, it's a southern relish. And it mostly just contains spices with vinegar and peppers and green tomatoes and cabbage. And you can put it on anything. I enjoy it on hamburgers, sloppy joe, and chili dogs. So guys, I want you to take a look at this. I have my chicken cooked enough because it's actually going to go into the oven for about 10 minutes. So I have it cooked enough, and what I'm going to do next is I'm going to thicken it. So just like I was telling you, pretty much a one-pot meal. Sorry for constantly spinning you guys around. What we're going to do is I'm going to take about a tablespoon of flour, maybe 2. And of course, this isn't a real tablespoon, it's a soup spoon. And I'm using that same self-rising flour that I'm going to use for a biscuit topping. And so I have that in here. We're going to add our vegetables. I'm going to bring you in a little closer so you can see. We're going to add in all of our vegetables. Everything is looking nice and pretty. And now we're going to add our stock. So I actually did not add the entire 2 cups of stock. I looked at it and it only needed 1.5 cups of stock. So in the description box, that is what I'll have down. I'll have 1.5 cups of stock. So guys, you can see what we have now. What I'm going to do is I'm going to let this cook for about 10 minutes. Let it thicken up a bit, and then I'll bring you back and we're going to do our biscuit topping. All right, family, so we've had our mixture going for about 10 minutes. I did a taste check and I added a teaspoon of salt. You always want to do taste check while you are cooking. And remember, if you're cooking anything with chicken broth, add the salt afterwards, after you do a taste check, because your chicken broth could be a little bit more salty than you think. And even your home canned chicken broth, it can be a little bit more salty than you think. And so doing a taste check before you add salt will keep you from having a dish that's overly salted. So now that it's bubbling away and it's a nice consistency, we are going to make our biscuit mixture. So remember, we have our 2 cups of self-rising flour. We have 3/4 cups of milk. And then we have our melted butter. So I'm going to pour all of our melted butter inside. And then I'm going to start with 1/2 cup of the milk. So we have 3/4 cup, but I'm going to start with 1/2 cup. Because remember, we can add 2, but we can't take away. And we already have our oven preheated to 400 degrees. And so we are just mixing everything up. Now I'm going to add the rest of our milk. And so what we added was 1 cup of melted butter and 3/4 cup of milk. So guys, this is the consistency that we have right now. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to add 1 more 1/4 cup. So that'll make 1 cup of milk. I'm going to add 1 more 1/4 cup because I want it to be just a little thinner. And guys, if you do not use cow's milk, you can use soy milk for this, or you can omit the milk and the real butter and use plant-based butter, soy milk, or plant-based butter and water. But you would need to use a little extra of your plant-based butters so that you still get the great flavor. So I'm going to show you the consistency that we have now. So So this is the consistency that we have now. And we're going to take that and we're going to put it on top of our meat and vegetable mixture. So I'm kind of just putting dollops on top. Guys, clean hands are an amazing kitchen tool, and they're free. So I'm just kind of dropping dollops here and there and then spreading them out a little bit. I always like to make sure I have some along the edge because I love the crispy edges that you get from a nice hot cast iron skillet. And you may or may not use all of your topping. Just a little more. Okay. So this is what we have right now. So this is our biscuit topping. And what we're going to do is we're going to place this into our preheated 400-degree oven. And we're going to cook it for 20 minutes. So set your timer for 20 minutes. And we'll be back, guys. All right, family, our pot pie has been in the oven for 20 minutes. The oven is going off. Let's see what we have. Oh my goodness, it smells so good. Guys, look. Minnie Mouse, my absolute favorite. Oh my goodness, look at that. Woo! Uh-oh. Can you imagine? Can you imagine the smells in this kitchen right now? I'm going to brown because I need y'all to get a close-up of this beautiful masterpiece. And so, guys, to make it just a little bit more decadent, We're going to pour a little bit of melted butter on top. Just a little bit. Look at that. Just amazing. And guys, you remember that if you wanted to make this into a freezer meal, what you would have done is, instead of putting it in the oven for 20 minutes, I would have put it in the oven for only 10 minutes, brought it out, set it on my counter, let it cool absolutely completely. If you do not let it cool completely, you could be welcoming in microorganisms. So what you do is you let it cool completely, and then you place it in your freezer. But let me show you what I actually would have baked it in if I was going to freeze it. So again, I showed you the containers that I would have used if I was going to make individuals. But if you're going to make it for a family, you can either use these types of containers that have lids on them, or you can use the aluminum pans and then cover them. So what I would have done is I would have made it in this glass pan, because of course these are oven safe. Let it cool at least for about 2 to 3 hours, because you want all the sides, everything to be completely cool. And if you needed it to cool even faster, you could sit this whole container, once it cooled just a little bit, on top of some ice, and it would cool a lot faster if you needed that to happen. And then you cover it up. Make sure you put a piece of tape on the top with the date and what it is, and place it into your freezer and freeze it up to 6 months. It would never last that long here because I enjoy pot pie. But again, guys, this is an amazing dish for your family. This is an amazing dish to take for potluck meals if people are still doing those. So anytime that I am serving people, just like you guys saw in my last vendor event, instead of having my peach cobbler just completely out in the pan on my chafing dish, what I did was I actually put it into individual cups. You know, just because of the times that we're in right now when it comes to COVID, it makes it easier. And when people come over to my booth, or when they order from me, they know that they're getting something that no one else has picked out of, or no one else has breathed over, or anything like that. So everything is individually packaged. My cakes, my desserts, everything. When I make charcuterie boards, everything is individualized. I actually now make charcuterie boxes or cups. And I do that because some people, they are very, very worried about the position we are in the world today. So guys, this is beautiful. I'm going to scoop some up because at this present time, I have not eaten today. I've had so much going on that I haven't had a chance to eat. So I'm going to scoop this up and I'm going to let you guys know how it tastes.